What is poppin', y'all? It's your boy Cobb, aka Double Flamingo, aka the GOAT, and I'm back for the new year to talk about Season 3 of the POOSY Draft League. Now, last video I uploaded was about Season 2 of the POOSY Draft League, which I ended up finishing 4th after getting double eliminated by Baxcalibur Cheese. But it happens. Moving on to a new season, moving on to a new team. And the new thing with this season of the POOSY Draft League is Terra Captains. Now, any Mon that is worth 9 points or less, barring a few exceptions that are super broken, like any of these broken gremlins that got banned for either Calm Mind or Shell Smash or Quiver Dance, the list is on screen right now. Every Mon that is below 9 points outside of those is allowed to terrestrialize into one of 3 types. You have to declare one of 3 types. One of the types has to be a type that you originally have. For example, if you were to have a Pikachu, one of the types has to be electric, and then the other 2 can be whatever you want, but you can only terrestrialize into one of those 3 types. But with that, I got my pick. This is a 20-person league this time instead of 16, which is very, very constraining in terms of the drafting process. The free agency is mostly empty. There's a lot of things that you need are already taken or belong to other people, so it forces trades, but everyone's being kind of stingy with trades. But regardless, I drafted a team that I'm decently content with. I am currently at a record that I won't tell you guys yet because that would be spoiling the point of the video. I'm going to recap my first 3 weeks, and then you're going to get a live kind of normal style video of my 4th week because that match happened today, the day that I'm recording this. So let's get into things. Now first, I'm going to talk about my draft. One big thing about Season 3 also that I neglected to mention is that I've changed up my team's branding. Now, last season I was the Lego City Ludicolos, and I was also the Lego City Ludicolos for the first season of the POOSY Draft League, but everyone else was changing up their branding, and I was given some decent team name ideas, and I figure this is for fun anyway, so might as well switch things up. So for Season 3, my team will be known as the Denver Luggets. The intention was to draft Hisui and Avalugg, but I kind of got different forms of stall. Now, at the draft initially, there were a lot of Mons that I had that I inevitably dropped. In the draft, I had things like Blissey, Skeledirge, Hisuian, Goodra, Ditto, and I made a few free agencies to pick up things like Hoopa Unbound because he's my homie, Rotom Heat because it's a really good tanky Stallmon, and Dugtrio because the trapping could be kind of useful, but I realized that it was kind of constraining of a playstyle, and in draft you kind of can't be forced to play stall or else you're just going to lose every match. So I made a few big changes, and those changes have led me to this team. Okay, so this is not going to be an exact draft order because I don't remember my exact draft order, given that I've had so many free agency changes that have swapped around a bunch of different Pokemon, but this is going to be loosely in draft order. But I know for certain that the first Mon that I decided to draft was Gliscor. Now, Gliscor is one of my favorite Pokemon, and I kind of wanted to use it. It's weird. So when I was going into the draft for this, I had a couple different plans of Mons that I wanted to take. I was thinking maybe Iron Bundle, maybe Sneasler because Sneasler's really good, maybe something else like a Golden Go, but someone else mentioned how Gliscor was undervalued, and I took that personally, so I decided to pick it up. Gliscor is very, very versatile in draft. I'd say it's a little weaker than it is in stuff like OU Ladder, just because it's a ground flying type, which means it's weak to ice, but ground flying is still like a really, really good typing that has some key resistances like poison and fighting and most physically defensive Mons, or physically offensive Mons, and its stats are pretty good. Base 95 speed is pretty competitive. You can outfit this to be faster than a lot of different things that have sort of middling speed. You're definitely faster than most solid defensive Mons, which is useful because you learn things like Taunt. And at the end of the day, slap a Toxic Orb on it, you slap Poison Heal on it. Sometimes you don't even need to slap a Toxic Orb on it if you make a hard read into someone who has a very Poison Stall centric defensive core. Gliscor is a Mon that can kind of just 1v1 a bunch of different things because they don't have the brute force to get through when you're healing 1/8 of your health every single turn. And because this is a National Dex League, Gliscor gets Roost back, which is great for healing. You're not forced to run Protect in order to heal, even though Protect is pretty good on Gliscor. You get a bit of versatility with the ability to run Swords Dance sets. You get your hazards with Spikes and Stealth Rock, and you get really all the coverage moves that you need. You can spec Gliscor into any matchup pretty well, and in the weeks that's not good, you can use the other Mons, and that's totally fine. Next pick, I know this was my next pick because I really wanted it, is Alomomola. Now, Alomomola had a very large point increase this season. It went from, I want to say, like 9 to 14. And that's for a couple reasons. One, it got Flip Turn. Flip Turn is... So for most Alomomola users in draft, they've been using Baton Pass, which allows you to pivot and pass wishes, but you can get snatched, you can get taunted so you can't do it, you can get negative status effects from something like Parting Shot or Intimidate, and that's not something you want to pass. Flip Turn does damage off of Alomola's like surprisingly decent base 75 attack stat, and it lets you switch out and pivot around with Regenerator, which is always great. Its moveset is pretty good. It gets Scald back because of National Dex, it gets Knockoff, it gets Flip Turn, as I mentioned. It also gets Alluring Voice, so that if you are up against the setup sweeper that's behind a sub, which is the easiest way to beat Alomomola, you can sort of hit through it with Alluring Voice and confuse them if they try to set up on you. It's kind of hacks dependent, but if you like have a move slot that you don't need, then it's decent. Aloe was a good pick for my team. I like Regenerator Mons. You'll see that with the rest of the team, and that's why I picked Aloe. So next, we got Mega Scizor. Mega Scizor was a late addition. Originally, this was Mega Gallade, but Mega Gallade was a bit too constraining. Mega Scizor gives a solid little defensive combo with the rest of my team members. This thing is 4 times weak to fire. This was his fire. This is like fine into fire, and I have other mons that are good with that. It's a nice, decent, and bulky defensive steel type. Gives me priority with Technician Bullet Punches off of its 150 base attack. It has the same bulk as like a Fortress, but I can't be knocked off, and I pack a lot more of a punch, and I have more respectable speed F, and base 75 speed is pretty good. Turns out when you have 600 BST, it helps you a lot. Everyone knows what Scizor does. Scizor usually just runs a set like Bullet Punch, Swords Dance, U-Turn, Roost, but it also gets stuff like Knockoff, it gets stuff like Pursuit. It has a lot of different options to be good on any given week where you need priority, and it's a decent endgame cleaner, which is something that's important when the first 2 mons that you pick are really defensive. So, next up, I know this wasn't my next pick, but I picked up Galarian Slowking. Galarian Slowking is a great partner to a mon that I will show you later. Galarian Slowking, another Regenerator mon, forms a nice little bulky core with Alomomola. These two can just regen pivot. It beats any opposing Garganicles, any opposing hazards, kind of. Hazards still suck, but it's decently useful. Chilly Reception is a slow pivot move that synergizes with my arguably faster pivoters and stuff like Gliscor and Scizor. This can set up Trick Room. Glowking is a great mon in draft because it learns every coverage move in the book, and Poison Psychic typing is really solid, so kind of a no-brainer pick. Next up, my team is really slow. Base 95, base 65, base 75, base 30, so Alakazam gives me a bit of speed with base 120. Alakazam is kind of awkward for me personally. It not being in Scarlet and Violet means that it doesn't get the litany coverage that like a lot of other mons that came back get. So you're stuck with stuff like Energy Ball and Dazzling Gleam and Psychic and like Focus Blast, but it's got a decent support moveset. It learns things like Taunt, it learns Encore, it learns Disable. You can very easily, because of Magic Guard, slap a Sash on this, and then suddenly, not Focus Band, Focus Sash. You can very easily slap a Sash on this and make it able to 1v1 any Setup Sweeper that would get through my previous mons. So that's great for Alakazam. Alakazam is, it's not a mon that I want to bring every week. It's not a mon that I want to bring most weeks, honestly. I really am just going to be slotting Alakazam into a team if I feel like the matchup is really, really good for it, or if I need defense against setup sweepers, or just really, really strong offensive threats. So yeah, that's Alakazam. Shout out to 135 special attack, by the way. That's pretty gosh darn good. If I got better coverage, it'd be arguably more broken. Anyways, next up, we got my first Terra Captain and my current MVP, but you'll see that later. Diancie. Diancie is, listen, when you have a stat spread like this, and you can turn into a mono fairy type because of my Terra types. I have Terra Fairy available on this. I have Terra Steel available on this. I have Terra Ghost available on this. Ghost is so that I can spin block more effectively because this gets both Stealth Rocks and Spikes, which is nice if I just need to use that as a hazard setter. Fairy is the thing that I'm going to be turning into most weeks though, because being a pure fairy type with this amount of bulk and this amount of special attack and Draining Kiss, which gets boosted to 60 power, which makes it effectively 120 power with stab, it's just really good. Diancie gets a lot of moves. It gets fairy moves naturally. Diamond Storm, its unique signature move, so if I want to be physical, I can do that. Physical's still kind of whack though, but if I want to be physical with Diamond Storm and play rough, I can do that. I get Earth Power, I get Scorching Sands, Rock Polish for setup, Calm Mind for setup, Iron Defense for setup. Like, it can kind of do everything. It can set up Trick Room, it can set up hazards, it can heal my team with freaking Heal Bell. Like, Diancie is a insanely versatile mon, and it being at the point level to where it can Terra is kind of insane, and probably never going to happen in one of these leagues again. So I'm kind of abusing it while I have it. Diancie is broken. 600 BST, like I mentioned with Scizor, is really, really good. So next up we got Cyclizar, my friend, one of my favorite Pokemon in Generation 9, one of my favorite Pokemon, period, I think. I just like that he's a lizard. Also beefs up my speed tiers, a little bit faster than Alakazam by 1 point. It's important to have something fast so I just don't get rolled through by Choice Banders, and I force people to run Jolly or Timid on their sweepers. Cyclizar is a super reliable rapid spinner, gets knockoff, gets U-turn for pivoting, and then it gets a bunch of different coverage moves. It gets Dragon Tail for phasing, which is nice. It gets Iron Head if I want to hit fairies. I can drop a Draco off of my stab base 85 special attack stat, which is like, it can take out something frail, and that's fine. If I want to put specs on it, I can do that. It gets a bunch of different coverage moves. It gets Taunt. It gets a lot of different options. Shed Tail is banned. I'm not allowed to use that, but Cyclizar is very, very versatile. Most weeks I can just slap an Assault Vest on it, and then suddenly it's super tanky, super fast, switching out with Regenerator and just doing good amounts of damage. Usually I like doing boosting speed nature with no investment, so I hit 305, which is faster than base 100s that are adamant, which is really nice, and also like base 80 somethings that are Jolly. But I slap an Assault Vest on it, put a little bit of investment in the bulk, and then all of a sudden I have this. It's basically as bulky as Loking, but with a lot of extra speed and the ability to knock and U-turn instead of Chilly Receptioning, which can't get taunted, which is great. I love Cyclizar. He's great. He's super fun to use. Next up, we have the second Terra Captain, also Terra eligible because we didn't balance the game all too well. Arctozolt. Arctozolt is allowed to Terra into an electric type, into an ice type, into a water type, but for most intents and purposes, I'm going to be tearing into an electric type. Water's there in case I need it defensively, but I'm just going to be an electric type. I didn't know this thing got Hydro Pump and Surf, by the way, until I looked at its types. So that's great for Arctozolt. Arctozolt does the thing where it clicks the Bolt Beak button. It gets Slush Rush, which is great. When I have a Slowking to set up Chilly Reception, it kind of constrains my team building in that I need to be running Slowking for Arctozolt to reach its max potential, but if I'm fighting against bulkier teams, its speed is like serviceable. Like, I can do this and then like I'm at 229, which is like serviceable compared to most walls. When this is doubled, it goes to 450, which is faster than things like Mega Alakazam, which is great. But Arctozolt ultimately comes in, clicks the Bolt Beak button. It gives my team a bit of power, given that this is kind of passive. This is kind of passive sometimes, unless I'm running like offensive Assault Vest or something. This is kind of passive, and this can be passive depending on my set. So it lets me get away with being passive with the rest of my team when I'm forcing them to defend against a Bolt Beaking Arctozolt every single turn. It's really good. Electric Ice is broken coverage. People know that because that's what got Regieleki banned. Arctozolt's great. Arctozolt's strong. It's never coming back to a Pokemon game, but it's great. Next up. This was one of my late free agency decisions. I haven't used it in any battles effectively yet because the one match where I thought it was going to sweep, it did not come out, but I'll get to that later. Ceruledge. Ceruledge is pretty cool. He's got nice little knives for hands. He's very purple. He's very swag like that. Ceruledge he's a pretty solid setup sweeper. It gives my team a fire type, which is nice for resisting things like opposing fire types. With flash fire, gives me a ghost type, so I'm not super weak to fighting. I'm not crazy weak to fighting as is, but it gives me a ghost type, which is useful for the reasons that a ghost type is useful. It gives me spin blocker. That's the thing that's good. And with its two abilities, flash fire and weak armor lets it pull off a sweeping set pretty easily, and flash fire is great in case I'm fighting a really scary offensive fire type. Ceruledge is a solid setup sweeper. Usually the set that it would run if it wants to be a setup sweeper is Endure, Swords Dance, friggin' Bitter Blade, and Poltergeist. It didn't have Poltergeist last season, which makes it way better this season, which is awesome. slap a little weakness policy on it, and then all of a sudden you're forcing them to eat plus 8 billion poltergeists. Basically, get a shell smash boost. It's great. But yeah, Sarah Ledge is extra offensive pressure. Its base 85 speed stat is kind of whatever, but it works with the rest of my team. I can make it work. I can slap a scarf on it, or I can just be like banded shadow sneak with adamant and try and make that work. Sarah Ledge is great. Sarah Ledge is cool. He's cool and he's fun to use, and he patches up some of my other weaknesses kind of decently, which is nice. Last up, we have a mon that I've never used before. A mon that I didn't even use in game. A mon that's, I guess he's a dog. I like dogs. We got Mabostiff. Now, in my heart of hearts, if I was slightly more deliberate with my planning, this would be an Incineroar. Because Incineroar does the thing that Mabostiff does, but better. But unfortunately, the week before, I was looking to make a swap out, because this replaced my Rotom Heat. Because I just don't like Rotom Heat, and it doesn't do well into a lot of the matchups, I think. If I had Incineroar, it would be so much better. But he got taken in week 3, and I picked this guy up in week 4. So, I'm stuck with the dog. But the dog's okay. It gives me a dark type, which is surprisingly useful, given that the rest of these mons, only one of them resists Psychic. 2 of them resist Psychic, rather. And I need to make myself not susceptible to stored power sweeps if there's a super broken stored power. Also gives me Intimidate. Intimidate, when you have a bunch of Regenerator mons, is really nice. Especially when you have a Wish Passing Almamola that can heal this up. If I want to run a defensive set, utilizing its great bulk, and pair this up with like Almamola passing it Wishes, that's pretty solid. Like, its bulk is surprisingly pretty good. 120 attack is the outstanding feature on it, but 80, 90, 70 bulk is surprisingly decent when you have things like Intimidate. And I can run Guard Dog if I want to be a dog. I can run Stakeout with a choice item, which is the general offensive set. Stakeout functions basically like Pursuit, except I punish whatever switches in. Also, the thing about Mabostiff that I wanted is that it gives me phasing. None of these mons have Whirlwind or Roar, which is really annoying when it comes to dealing with substitutes. So this gives me a mon that can force things out. Will the dog ever come? Maybe not, but we'll have to see. But yeah, that's my team. That is the team that I decided to draft. And now I'm going to transition into my battles as they have happened so far in the season. We're going to start with week 1 in my game versus Nobody, another Alex, another person who's named Alex like myself. Nobody, the coach of the Pokestar Studios Monster Mash. So, this is the team that I brought for my first game versus Nobody. I have Versace Riddler, the Galarian Slowking, with Psychic Noise, Flamethrower, Toxic Spikes, and Chilly Reception. T-Spikes make his life kind of difficult because his only reliable hazard control is Terapagos. I'm Special Defensive, which forms a nice little core with Almamola that's physically defensive. This is a blanket coverage to most of his offensive mons. I got Gucci Mr. Freeze, which comes in set up off the Chilly Reception in order to deal massive amounts of damage with either Bolt Beak or Blizzard, depending on what he stays in on. I can't just spam Bolt Beak because he has a Garchomp, but I can spam it as long as Garchomp is dead. And also Garchomp, if it gets the read wrong on a Blizzard, then it just dies. Anyways, I also have Diancie, which Diancie is my key to this entire game, okay? Diancie 6-0s. Completely 6-0s. Do not forget that I said that. Diancie 6-0s his entire team. He starts, like, I start getting Calm Minds up, I start clicking Draining Kiss, and everything dies, and nothing can stop me. Because of my investment, because of all my stuff. I can Iron Defense on the Gyarados. I can Iron Defense on any sort of physical attacker which is trying to threaten me out. Diancie 6-0s. Diancie clicks Calm Mind and then clicks Draining Kiss, and then I kill everything. That is what happens this game. That is what should happen this game. I got Supreme Scarecrow from back when I still had Hoopa Unbound. I'm running a Jetpack plus Hyperspace Fury with Trick Room in order to give me a second way to set up my Arctozolt. It also lets my Diancie be faster than things, which is nice. And I have AV Cyclizar as a check to Spectrier. It shouldn't die with my Assault Vest to a Specs Draining Kiss, which is nice. But yeah, that's the team, and we're going to look at the match. So, warning, you're about to see some of the worst played Pokemon of all time. I'm giving you guys a cringe warning right now. This is going to be bad. This is going to be absolutely terrible. I think that Nobody has one of the most threatening teams in the entire league. He has Spectre, which forces prep whenever you fight against it, because if you don't have a normal type or a dark type, then you're kind of just cooked. My best check to Spectre is AV Cyclizar, but if he gets a read right with Draining Kiss, and my Cyclizar gets reasonably chipped, then I'm kind of cooked. Tangrowth is a really, really solid defensive check. Usually it is coming with Special Defensive Porygon 2. In this game, he elected to bring it with Regirock. I think he just wanted to try out Regirock. I don't know if Regirock does anything exceptional into most of my team. This Chomp is a Mega Guard Chomp. Mega Guard Chomp can either set up hazards, or it can just be a sweeping set with Swords Dance, Scale Shot, Earthquake, all that noise. Iron Valiant is a really solid endgame cleaner that can be used for a variety of purposes. And Terapagos is, I think, the best new mon in draft, period. Iron Boulder, he's like fine, but you can have checks for it. Terapagos can be outfitted to... Terapagos is kind of in like the same role that Mew and Necrozma and Silvally have in draft, in that you can outfit it to take on whatever issue you need. Or you can just save it until endgame, slap heavy duty boots on it, and utilize your Terra Shell ability to force a trade with any of their late game mons, because it's got, at the end of the day, like 600 BST, which is super useful, super helpful. I look at this team, I look at my Cyclizar. My Cyclizar is faster than everything except for a booster speed Valiant. So I figure he's a pretty safe lead. If I see Garchomp, I can Ice Spinner. If I see Spectre, I can knock off. If I see Regirock, I guess I just switch to Alomomola. If I see Terapagos, then I either Rapid Spin to break its multi-scale, or I just U-turn out. So note my surprise when I see the lead and I see Tangrowth. So for him to be leading Tangrowth, I'm assuming that he's Sleep Powder. And I start freaking the fuck out because I have no idea. When I was prepping, I wasn't fighting against Sleep Power Tangrowth. I had no idea what I should put to sleep. So in my moment of panic, and remember how I said Diancie 6-0s this entire game? I U-turn, and I bring out my Diancie. And he goes for Sleep Powder, and I go to sleep. And that's my win con for the entire game. That is currently taking a nap. So this is going great for me already from the outset. Moving on, I switch back to Cyclizar. He Giga Drains, which is fair, does decent damage. I assumed he would do something like knock off, but I knock off his item. He turns out to be Wide Lens. He knocks off my item, gets rid of my Salt Vest, which is really bad. Now my health is kind of chipped. I'm not going to get all this back from the Regenerator, and if this is Spectrier, then I'm going to be taking a lot from the Draining Kiss. I haven't ran the calcs at this point. I should, because usually when I play a match, I have my calc decks usually on this side. But it's not great versus Spectre right now, because if it's not a spec set, if it's just a setup set with Nasty Plot, then he gets up a Nasty Plot and he can either Shadow Ball or Draining Kiss basically my entire team. My Hoopa is still a decent defense against it, but it's still super scary. So he goes out and do Spectre Raw. I U-turn, and I think, oh shoot, what am I bringing into this? I bring out my Hoopa Unbound. Hoopa Unbound with his Massive Speed F shouldn't be threatened by anything that Spectre can do. I don't know why this tooltip is stuck, but yeah. So reasonably, he doubles back out into his Regirock. I click my Hyperspace Fury, or no, I click Trick Room. I don't know why I Trick Roomed and not Hyperspace Furied. Probably because I was predicting either a substitute or a... Maybe it was my read on a switch. Maybe it was my read on a switch to like Valiant to try and tank a dark move. Maybe it was my read on a switch to like Garchomp to try and take whatever. So I wanted to get a little bit of momentum. But Hoopa is way faster than Regirock, and even though I'm a minus speed nature, he's still slower than me, which means he Thunder Waves me, which means I don't get to pivot out, and now my Hoopa is paralyzed for the rest of the game. This is important later. So I Hyperspace Fury, deal a nice little chunk, switch out my eject pack, and I go out into my Glow-King. My Glow-King should be slower than this, which is nice. So I just get to fire off a nice and clean little Toxic Spike. Toxic Spike is good versus the things that he has. If this isn't Boots Terapagos, then I get a little poison on that, which is nice. It stops Valiant from being a insane problem, and it stops Spectre from getting super out of control. We already know that this isn't Boots. We know this isn't Boots. This can't be Boots. This isn't Leftovers. And Valiant, if it's Boots, like, what are you doing? So Toxic Spike is going to do good damage with the rest of his team. But he decides to Thunder Wave this as well. Paralyzing the Slowking is fine, I guess, but I don't know what you're trying to do with that. Anyways, he recovers with Leftovers. I Psychic Noise just to get a little bit of chip. Stop his Leftovers healing. He sets up rocks. Rocks are kind of bad for me. My Arctozolt doesn't want to be taking rocks damage, and it makes Spectrier, again, even stronger in the late game. It makes Valiant really strong in the late game. Makes a bunch of stuff really strong because now I'm suddenly getting chipped on everything. He goes out into Garchomp, and thankfully I don't get full paired on this turn. Actually, Reception. So Trick Room is over. I get to go into my Gucci Mr. Freeze. And versus his entire team, I am perfectly fine to just click Blizzard. His best switch-in is either Terapagos, but that would be wasting its Terra Shell, or Regirock, which he makes the right play on this turn, I believe, and he goes out and does Regirock. Yeah. Regirock gets poisoned. Takes a good amount of damage. I Terra Electric for reasons? I think I Terra Electric because I saw the rocks were up, and I didn't want to be taking extra damage from rocks, because I'm already going to be chipping myself with Life Orb anyways. But it's definitely a decision. But yeah, okay. So I click Blizzard. Pretty free Blizzard. Snow is up. Can't miss. I get a nice little crit, which unfortunately doesn't kill it after Leftovers Recovery. It would be nice if I got that kill a little bit sooner. But yeah, click that again, and I'm doing pretty solid. I take a bit of Life Orb chip, but that's fine. He goes out into Valiant. Procs his booster speed. So I have to switch because... well, there's a chance I actually didn't have to switch because if it's booster speed Valiant, then it's not going to be that strong. And my Arctozolt has a bit of bulk investment, so there's a chance. Like, he can't hit me super effectively. I wouldn't live a close combat, but I would live something like a Spirit Break or a knockoff, maybe. So I wouldn't have to switch, but it's in my best interest to switch. And the most reliable switch into Valiant, unless he's clicking knockoff, which would be annoying, is my Galarian Slowking. So I go out into that, hoping that he's something like Spadef, or especially offensive. He clicks Spirit Break, so I know that he's physical. Cool. Physical Valiant is fine. I have Alomomola, which is a blanket physical check, and he's slowly getting ticked down from poison damage, which is nice. He clicks Swords Dance on my Alomomola switch, which is kind of terrifying, but, you know, and also kind of greedy, because if I just clicked Psychic Noise that turn, then he dies, which is a waste. Although he did read the heck out of my switch, because now that I know that he's physical, he probably has knockoff somewhere on the set. But yeah, he Swords Dances, which is bad but not awful, because the Spirit Break is still only going to do 42 to my Aloe. He chips himself with Rocky Helmet. I get nice little flip turn damage. This chip is adding up. I got into my Diancie to force him to not click knockoff because I don't want him to knock. And go back into Alomomola on another Spirit Break. Take a good amount of chip, and I'm chilling. It knocks itself out with a combination of Toxic Spikes plus Rocky Helmet damage. So I'm up 6-4. This is paralyzed. This is paralyzed. This has kind of low health. This is slept, and this is at half health, even less when you consider rocks. And this doesn't have an Assault Vest anymore. So even though it's 6-4, it's not a good 6-4. Spectrier can really do a lot of damage, and he recognizes that and goes into Spectrier here. Now, I'm at a 50-50, right? Because if he is a choice set, then it's a straight up 50-50 between Shadow Ball and Draining Kiss. If he's not a choice set, he can easily just kill me or Nasty Plot. So I have no idea what he's going to do. I go into Cyclizar, covering the Shadow Ball because Shadow Ball is better versus most of my team. And he gets the read and gets the kill with the Draining Kiss. I didn't run the calc on that. I probably could have known that this was Spoiler's choice specs by running the calc on that, because let's actually bring this up. Let's bring this up for the sake of argument. Let's look at my Cyclizar. Say Cyclizar has 40 HP investment, which is what I had, and no investment in any other bulk. Let's look at the Spectrier. Spectrier with choice specs. Let's look at Draining Kiss damage. Okay, Draining Kiss with specs would do 85 to 102. I was at 67% health. Without choice specs, it would do... It could have still killed me, but it was a super weighted in my favor roll. If I was at 67% health, which I'm going to put in. Yeah, it was only an 18% chance to kill, so I assume... And also, in a bit of tilt, I just assume he got the read, he's earned it, he won the match. You can actually see that in the chat if you look, where is it? Where's the message? I got into Hoopa. Pause. Oh, I didn't say it. Oh, whatever. Anyways, I go into Hoopa to cover if he's not specs, because I know that I live a spec Draining Kiss. I know that if he were to substitute or Nasty Plot or do anything or switch, then At the end of the day, I'm forcing the Spectre out. Because Hyperspace Fury will always knock this out, and I always live a Draining Kiss. And I should know by this damage, especially, that did 66 to my Hoopa. I should know that this is choice specs, because there's no way it should be doing that much to a Hoopa Unbound with 130 special defense. But unfortunately for me, I get fully paralyzed. And now my Hyperspace Fury doesn't kill, and now there's a Spectre in my face that's clicking Draining Kiss. And I don't even run the calc because I'm so upset. If I ran the calc, I would know that this is locked in Draining Kiss, and I would just go Slow King safely. But because I'm kind of salty, I throw out a little GG, you got it, bro, in the chat. I sack my Alamomola. Now he's up to a bunch more health. Now he's at another Grimnay. And I go to sack my Diancie. And do I actually sack my Diancie? Ooh. I start trying to burn sleep turns. And I should know the damage on that. I should know the damage on this. Yeah, I think I literally just sacked my Diancie. I don't even wake up. I get max sleep turns too, because I'm slept for 2 turns. Very awkward for me. I should have just gone Glow King on this, but I sacked my Diancie, even though Diancie would have won. Although I already burned my Terra, so it winning would be kind of harder, because there's a Garchomp that's around. I go into my Glow King, ready to concede the rest of the game, and I'm like, wait, why is he Draining Kissing me? He gets a nice little crit here with this one Draining Kiss too, which further insult to injury. Versace Riddler's taken a lot more damage than he should. And I try to Chilly Reception out into my Arctozolt, get fully paralyzed. It's whatever. I have more opportunities to do that. He Draining Kisses again, doesn't get a crit this time. Okay, I can Chilly pretty freely. Get fully paralyzed again. This is awkward. He Draining Kisses again. And a third full paralysis in a row. On every crucial turn where I needed not a full para. On here where I would have killed the Spec. On here, where I would have chillied into Arctozolt and potentially brought back the game, because then it's just Bolt Beak versus Blizzard 50-50s, I get fully paralyzed, which is unfortunate. I'm still at enough health to live from a Draining Kiss. And on this last little opportunity, I Chilly Reception out into my Arctozolt, which forces this out, thankfully. I have to Bolt Beak, because if I don't Bolt Beak, I literally just lose. And thankfully he stays in and sacks that Spectre, which is nice. So, he goes out and uses Terapagos. Terapagos has Terra Shell, which makes my Bolt Beak not very effective. So even with Terra Electric, there's a good chance I don't knock it out. And I don't click Bolt Beak. I go out into my Slow King, which is dubious from my part. Oh, because I need Arctozolt for the rest of the game. So, and I need that not to kill. I really need that not to kill so I can get more Regenerator health back. But I arguably should have sacked Hoopa Unbound in this position. My analysis is kind of all over the place. Anyways, I go back into Arctozolt because there's nothing that I can really do from this position. I click Bolt Beak. I get a crit, which almost knocks it out, which is insane for a not very effective move for only Life Orb boosted. But he knocks me out with Terra Starstorm, and now my Hoopa comes in, takes rocks damage, can't kill the rest of this, eats another Terra Starstorm, and that's my first week in a loss 3-0. Very unfortunate start of the season. Those full paras, because the thing about this game is there's a few different outs that I had from this position. Because me not realizing this is choice specs was not an instantly losing position. I could have known from there. I could have assumed from there. I could have made a read. But I was pissed over my second star dying to losing a read. I had the possible return out here if I got the Hyperspace Fury off, but the full para stopped that out, so my Hoopa was just dead. And if I woke up on this second turn here, I could have gotten more chip on the Spec and then maybe save my Diancie as a sack for later. But no, that's fine. That doesn't need to happen. That's fine. And if I had more health on this Glow King, then I could have procced the multi-scale off of the Terapagos by living a Terra Starstorm, but that's how the cookie crumbles, and that was the end of my first week. I lost 3-0 in my first week. Long analysis of the first game. I'm still a little upset about it, even though it was like 3 weeks ago. But second week was versus a different team. Second week was versus Potato, good friend of mine, former roommate of mine. He's probably watching this video right now. How you doing, Matt? And his team, the Jazz Fusion Jangmo'os. So let's get into the analysis of that game. Okay, So here's my team that I brought versus Potato and his team, the Jazz Fusion Jangmo'os. I realized that my tone of voice was a bit anti the vibe I'm trying to set right now, so I'm gonna chill things out more, slow things down a bit. So versus his team, I noticed that like with Nobody's team, he had a really big Diancie problem. So this little rock polish Diancie set kind of hit every option that he had. The only mon that this doesn't hit on his team is Corviknight. Corviknight is the mon that doesn't hit. However, the funny thing is, if he is running Iron Head, which is his only way to effectively hit this, or I get up enough Calm Minds, at +3, my Draining Kiss 1v1s the Corviknight very, very slowly. Like, it's really, really slow, but it does eventually wear it out. The big concern there is just with running out of PP because of pressure plus Draining Kiss. So that's a funny thing. But if he doesn't bring Corviknight, or if he doesn't bring Iron Head, or if he doesn't do anything like that, then Lululemon Harley kind of just sweeps everything. And the rest of my team can deal with Corviknight in a few different ways. I have Flamethrower on my Glow King in order to deal with that. The EV spread, I believe, was to always live a Choice Specs Boomburst from Noivern, and the rest was just in physical defense in order to be... No, actually, I have it backwards. The physical defense was to always live a Choice Banded Surging Strikes from Urshifu Rapid Strikes, and then the rest was in Spadef in order to deal with Noivern. That's what it was. I had this in order to deal with things like Heatran, because Earthquake is good. I forget exactly what I was speed creeping, but the Spadef was also for something. Oh no, this is the mon that was made to always live Specs Noivern. I'm mixing up all my stuff. The EV spreads are kind of funky. Gucci Mr. Freeze is back with Magnet instead of Life Orb, so I'm not chipping myself down throughout the course of the game. I believe that this speed is to always be faster than a Choice Scarf Adamant or Urshifu Rapid Strike in Snow, which is very important for my team. I have the same sort of Bolt Beak versus Blizzard 50-50 as in the previous game, because his ground type Sandaconda is likely to come, or else he doesn't have a way to deal with Arctozolt. Glow King and Aloe both have Rocky Helmets because there's an Urshifu on the other side of the team, and I really want to punish anything they can do. I know firsthand how Urshifu Rapid Strike can be really annoying, and the more helmets that you have versus it, the better. And the one thing that this entire team was weak to is Swords Dance, Aqua Jet, Surging Strikes. I think substitute Urshifu Rapid Strike with a Punching Glove or Leftovers. So Alakazam is meant to deal with that. I'm faster than any non-boosting Urshifu Rapid Strike, and I can either Encore it and do a setup move, Encore it into Aqua Jet so that I can deal with it with Alomomola, or I can just knock it out with a Psychic or an Energy Ball or whatever. Recover is there so I can recover my health back to Focus Sash range, which is important. But yeah, I had many different outs versus Matt's team, and we'll have to see how this game went right here. So, I look at this team. I'm very surprised to see Spiritomb. I'm a little more surprised to see no Corviknight, but I'm really wondering what Spiritomb can do to cook my team. It doesn't have a lot of potential when I have a Mega Diancie, not a Mega Diancie, but a Terra Diancie, which is stronger than Mega Diancie, that I can position versus most of his stuff. But yeah, this game is already looking very, very doable for Diancie. If the Silvally is not a type that resists Fairy, then I just take it out. Although arguably a type that doesn't resist Fairy is better because the types that resist Fairy are weak to Earth Power. So let's see how this game goes. I look at the leads, and in the few mocks I was doing, I believe I led with Glow King, so I think I keep that going here. No, I lead Arctozolt. Okay. The people I was prepping with were also confused as to why I led Arctozolt, and I think I remember the reason why. So let's go back to the team preview. I look at the team. I see Sandaconda. I didn't really know what Sandaconda was going to be doing. The one thing I know that Sandaconda can do is Glare, and I don't want to be in a position where I'm versus lead Sandaconda and he clicks Glare and then something has to get paralyzed. I'm still traumatized from the previous week. So I lead Arctozolt in a attempt to try and snuff that out, but instead he just leaves Noivern, which is totally fine. He goes for U-turn on the first turn. That's good. I switch into Diancie because it covers Boom Bursts, it covers Dracos, it covers Hurricanes, it covers really anything that it can do. I don't believe that Noivern gets Flash Cannon. So yeah. Anyways, he goes out into Heatran, and I can deal with Heatran, but I want to bluff that I can't deal with Heatran. And I don't really want to pull the trigger on my Diancie yet. I don't know enough of the sets, and I don't have enough information. So I just go into my Slowking as he Flash Cannons. I see his Flash Cannon, which is nice, because Heatran is now something that I can rely on to proc my weakness policy. And judging by that damage, I know that he's not Choice Specs, which is nice, because Choice Specs Flash Cannon can knock out my Diancie, even if I remove my 4x weakness, which is great. So he thankfully doesn't have Taunt, which is great. Originally I had Earthquake on this in order to deal with Taunt stopping my Chilly Reception, but he doesn't like using Heatran to trap, which is awesome. He just goes out into his Spiritomb. I believe I Chilly pretty freely into my Arctozolt. Yeah. So in the face of this, I can Bolt Beak pretty free. Bolt Beak is a guaranteed knockout, and it shouldn't live unless it's Focus Sash. Even with a bunch of physical defense investment, at the end of the day, this is a magnet boosted Bolt Beak from an Arctozolt with a lot of attack investment. So he doesn't go into anything else. Or in order to cover what he could potentially go, I click Substitute to see what his button is into this. If he wants to Will-O-Wisp me, if he wants to do anything like that, I have that option covered with the sub. And thankfully he goes for Trick, which makes me assume that he is a choice item, which is great. Now I can just Blizzard on whatever switch he wants to do. He can't go into Sandaconda or else he just dies. I can just sort of click a button and it's totally fine. I believe I just Blizzard into this? Yeah. Really, looking at things, I could have just Bolt Beaked, because he has to hit me at some point in order to break my sub. But if he stalls out my Snow turns, then he can get to a point where my Bolt Beak won't be doing that much damage, which is annoying for me. Anyways, he goes out into Heatran. I get a little bit of chip on the Heatran, and I believe I read a double into Sandaconda by clicking... No, I don't read a double in Sandaconda. I just Bolt Beak to try and kill it. He protects, stalls out another turn of my Snow, which is good for him. And now I just have one turn left. I actually switch hard, so I'm not stuck in with my Dracozolt when I don't have Snow up. Because I don't want to be forced in on Sandaconda, forced in on anything else. I go Gliscor this turn in order to guarantee that I get my Toxicroak proc, so that I have a safe switch into Glare later in the game. So, versus Gliscor, or versus Heatran, I always have the opportunity to Earthquake it, and his Earthquake resists are kind of lacking. He has Noivern, but the Noivern is Life Orb, and I have switch-ins for Noivern. I have my Glowking, which is still pretty healthy, that I can switch in on Noivern. I have my Diancie that I can still switch in on Noivern. I have a lot of different options, so I believe I just Earthquake here just to see what he wants to do. Yeah, he goes out into Noivern, but I actually read it with Knockoff because I'm a better player than I am in the commentary. The Knockoff is a pretty safe middle ground play. It covers all of his potential options better than Earthquake would, and now this Noivern doesn't have a Life Orb, so it can't really do that much to my Gliscor because I'm very specially defensively invested. So, heal up with Poison Heal, which is great. He doubles back out into a Savali Fairy, which is good for me because I clicked Roost, because no matter what he does, I would live it. If he Draco'd, I would live that and I would heal up. If he Terra Normal Moonburst, I would live that and then I would heal up, and I would get information about what he wants to do. If he loses his flying type also, I can just click Earthquake indiscriminately into all of his team. So he goes out into Silvally. I don't know what the Silvally is going to do. So I believe I make the safe play to just go out to my Slowking, seeing that Silvally Fairy. He Parting Shots, which is also the safe play. Doesn't give away any information, and he just gets to go out and do Sandaconda. He clicks Stealth Rock instead of Glare. I'm really grateful for that. Hazards are bad, but they're not like awful. And I just go out into my Chanel Catwoman. The plan here is to Encore him into rocks. But he knows that this learns Energy Ball, and he rightfully assumes that I have Energy Ball, and he just goes out and do Spiritomb. Spiritomb's also covering the potential Psychic. I get stuck on my little Encore, which is sad. But I double back out to my Gliscor. If he wants to trick me something, that's totally fine. Instead, he clicks what I assume is Choice Banded Poltergeist, and I eat that like a champ. He goes back into Savali Fairy, and I defog away the rocks, which is great. Now, this next turn, I'm going to execute a tech that I didn't know about until I was running a few mocks. So, Savali has Parting Shot. He has shown his interest in using Parting Shot when he was faced with the Gliscor previously. If I go back to turn here, he Parting Shot out when he was faced with the Gliscor with more health. So, I figure here, it is a pretty safe play for him to defog, or for him to Parting Shot. So, my Diancie has the ability Clear Body, and a great thing about Clear Body is that it stops Parting Shot from working. So in order to cover that, I go out into Diancie. He clicks Ice Beam, which is arguably better for me because now I get a turn to set up. Thankfully, he doesn't freeze me. I click Rock Polish, I tear into my Fairy type, and he parting shots, and it doesn't work. So I just get my Rock Polish with no drawback, which means now I also get a free Calm Mind. He goes out into Heatran, which is fine for me. Now that I'm at +1, I am never at risk of dying to a Flash Cannon. And if he were to Flash Cannon me, he would proc my Weakness Policy. If he's Shuckleberry, which he's not because I've seen the leftovers already, I believe my Earth Power would still kill, but I just get to Earth Power this Heatran for free. Part of me in the back of my mind kind of wanted to just Calm Mind again, but I'm set up with my Diancie now. I found the win con. I'm Terra Fairy Draining Kissing, and everything on this team dies. Except for Sandaconda. Sandaconda is really bulky, and my only attacking move on this set is Draining Kiss. Draining Kiss is not super effective, so if he brings in Sandaconda at any point and glares me, then there's a chance that I can still risk my Diancie. So I take the opportunity in facing the Noivern that can't really do any damage to me, that doesn't force me to kill it. I take the opportunity to start setting up more Calm Minds. I give him also the opportunity to crit me with a Boom Burst, which is, you know, it's kind of a sportsman-like, like a little bit. I Draining Kiss after I get to +3, which lets me get in range to kill the Sandaconda. He goes into his Urshifu and he sacks his Urshifu, and I wrap up the game pretty clearly from here. The funny thing is, the Silvally actually lives a Draining Kiss, and then it kills itself with Explosion, which would have killed if it was a Choice Banded normal type. But the order of operations here was kind of whack. He's Sash on his Sandaconda, which is crazy, because I believe this turn he just Earthquakes, when glaring is the only way that he can still win. But he said in the chat after the game that he had pretty much conceded at this point. When I got the set, basically from this turn, when the parting shot failed and he saw that I was setting up, he conceded the game, and he saw that there was very little that he can do to stop my Diancie. And at the end of the day, I have this on basically full health, this literally on full health, an Arctic ult in the back, and the rest of my team just kind of chilling. And Diancie's just going to slowly chip away everything else. I go back to full. He gets his Sand Spit up, which with the Earthquake actually does like a decent chunk to me, but it doesn't matter. Game's over. I get a nice little 6-0 victory to fix up my differential and move on to week 3. So that is my week 2 game. Let's talk about that week 3 game. The week 3 game is also versus one of my in real life friends, Blake, also known as Sizzly, coach of the Sizzlyys. And this game has a interesting story. Very interesting. So, Blake is very new at competitive Pokemon. He likes playing Pokemon because it's fun. He likes how the funny little guys do funny little things, and I invited him to the draft league in order to get a little bit more hands-on experience with competitive. And in week 2, I built him a team to fight against Blue, who is the person that I'm going to end up fighting in my week 4 match that you guys are going to see later. But he is not that experienced at building teams on his own. Usually he has to look up stuff from like acclaimed competitive resources like Smogon, which is totally valid if you don't have a lot of information. They will give you better sets than you could probably come up with on your own. And at the end of the day, he's doing this for fun. He's not super interested in being like insanely competitive. He's trying to learn a little bit, but he's not super interested in being super competitive. But I gave him permission to practice with Matt, who I just 6-0'd. And Matt, I assume, would be wanting to get revenge on me and help Blake beat me so that I can, you know, get completely stomped. So I build myself what I believe to be a pretty decent team. Let's look at that team. So we're going to start with a Cheezermon. I got Weakness Policy Ceruledge. This is the set that I mentioned in my team builder. I got Endure, Weakness Policy, Bitterblade, Shadow Sneak, Swords Dance. I can set up on something like a Glaring Darmanitan. I can set up on something like any sort of physically offensive threat that he has, and I can end up sweeping in the end game with Shadow Sneak or Bitterblade. Another sweeper that I have is Mega Scizor. Mega Scizor can easily get a Swords Dance up and then start killing everything with Bullet Punch. His only way to stop that is Victini, but Victini gets worn down if I were to set up Stealth Rocks with my Diancie. Diancie is just here to play a supporting role. Diancie's never trying to win any game here. Diancie, listen, Diancie got her kills She's trying to sit on the back bench. She's trying to Terra Captain her way into just chilling. She's going to set up rocks, maybe Calm Mind if there's an opportunity, but she's trying to be chill. And then I got my 3 little Regenerator Moncour as a defense against Landorus Incarnate plus Darmanitan. Physical defensive, Alomomola sits on Galarian Darmanitan most of the time. Mirror Coat is there because I always live 1 hit from a Landorus Incarnate, and it would jump scare it. This thing is Assault Vest, always lives from a Landorus Incarnate, can kill it back with an Ice Beam. This thing always lives from a Landorus Incarnate, can kill it back with an Ice Spinner, and I'm faster too because it's only at 331 speed. And I have a bunch of special defense investment. So, you know, I put in sound prep. I prep against Blake the same way that I would prep versus anyone else in the league. Even though he's not, like, he has basically negative experience, I put a lot of prep into trying to win. And this is the team he brings. So, on paper, this is the team he brings. So, on paper, this looks like a pretty normal team, but I recognize something about this team. I recognize something kind of familiar. And if we look back at his Week 2 game versus Blue, I noticed something kind of familiar. These teams seem kind of similar. So I do what any reasonable person would do. I pull up the poker paste that I made for him, because this team that he had in this match, I built for him. I know everything that it would do. I know everything that it would have. So, like a reasonable person, I pull up the poker paste for that, and I see, okay, Scarf Samurott, Life Orb, Landorus Incarnate with Rock Polish, okay. Heavy Duty Boost on this, Band on this. Oh, agility Charge Beam, that's pretty neat. Victini, it's entirely special, cool. And I go, okay, I know everything that you're going to do. I know all your counterplay. I can completely sweep you. I don't know what I lead here. I lead Diancie, right, because I want to get my rocks. Diancie is pretty good coverage against Hisuian Samurott, which is the obvious lead, because you lead and then you click Ceaseless Edge, or you click Razor Shell. And he leads Victini, which is interesting. I believe I just get out my rocks because I know the set on the Victini, and I know that he can't really hit me when I turn into a Fairy type. But as he goes into Landorus, Landorus is kind of scary. Even though I know the set, it's still a Landorus, and Landorus, even if it's doing the same thing every week, can kind of be scary. So he Sludge Waves on my Diancie, which is totally fine. It goes into my Cyclozar. My Cyclozar tanks it pretty well. I have an opportunity now to Ice Spinner. It is not a guaranteed knockout, but it is close enough. I believe I just U-turn, actually, in order to play safe. No, I Ice Spinner. I Ice Spinner and cover the Samurott. Now, I know the Samurott is Scarf, so I go out into my Alomomola, and he clicks Ceaseless Edge. Okay, all right. He takes Rocky Helmet damage, gets up a Spike. That's totally fine. I know that he's probably locked into that, so I click Flip Turn pretty easily. I actually catch the Landorus, which is great, and I go back into my bike, and my bike is totally fine to take this out with another Ice Spinner. He goes, or no, actually don't Ice Spinner, because I read the fact that he's going to switch, because he switched the last time he was in on my Cyclozar. People like doing the same things multiple times in a row. So, in order to get rid of this little spike that's on my feet, I click Rapid Spin. Now I'm guaranteed faster than the Samurott if it were to come back out, and I can knock out this Darm with a combination of U-turn plus Rocky Helmet damage. Boop. Boop. You're dead. That's 1 kill on the board already. He goes out into his Rotom Frost. Rotom Frost is probably just going to Volt Switch, and that's fine. It's a little annoying because he gets a bit of momentum, but I can go into Cyclozar, and my Cyclozar is faster than everything except for Samurott, so I'm kind of chilling. He goes into his Samurott knowing that it's faster because he has a Choice Scarf, and I, knowing that he has a Choice Scarf, go into my Alomomola. He clicks Sacred Sword, does not do a lot of damage, takes a lot of shit from Rocky Helmet. Switches back into his Rotom Frost. I Flip Turn, and I'm just winning the momentum war at this case, and I decide, wait a minute. So, at this point in the league, the leaderboard for kill leaders is looking something like 9 Gouging Fire, 6 Sneasler, 5 Diancie. And I'm figuring, oh, maybe I can run up some numbers. I see that there are 5 mons left. I know this is a special attacker. This is super chipped. This is a special attacker that's slower. This is a special attacker that can't get through Calm Mind. And I think, what if I just went for game? He tears into a Fairy type, which he has the right to do. And I start Calm Minding. And I get a little scared for a second because I think maybe this Terra Blast is going to do a lot of damage, but that doesn't outpace me. I Draining Kiss into him. I get all the health back from that. And suddenly, Diancie's sweeping again. This is kind of crazy. This Mon's kind of broken. Maybe this shouldn't be allowed to tear into a fairy type. He goes into Victini, which is only fairy resist, but that's fine. It can't really damage me, and I have a power gem that I can do. I think I get greedy and I take another Calm Mind, which is insane, so that I can keep my health high by Draining Kissing into it. He misses the second blue fair, which is pretty bad for him. I Draining Kiss, I get back to full health, and he blue flares again, does another 23, doesn't burn me, which is lucky for me. I Calm Mind again because I'm greedy, get my little bit of leftovers recovery, and Scorching Sands, fish for the burn, get the burn. I Draining Kiss, knock him out, back at full health, I'm at +3. There's nothing that he can really do at this point. This is going to die upon coming in. This can maybe kill me with like Razor Shell into Sludge Wave from this, but he would need a crit on one of those. And all of a sudden, Diancie's putting his entire team back into a pack. It's kind of nuts. He goes into Ampharos first, sacks the Ampharos. Actually does a lot with Thunderbolt because he is faster than me. But I get my health back with Draining Kiss. I'm totally chilling. I'm totally fine. He goes into Landorus. Landorus is going to try and Sludge Wave me. Or no, he Rock Polishes instead of Sludge Waving. Maybe reading that I'm going to switch, which was the only way for him to get back in the game, so fair play to him. But Diancie sweeps. He clicks Defog, gets rid of his rocks, which, you know, I appreciate that. Now I have more Draining Kiss healing. Unfortunately for Sizzly, I get another 6-0, and I clean up again with Diancie. Diancie Draining Kiss, when you can tear a fairy, is pretty strong. Go figure. So, that is my week 3 game. And with that, that is all the games that I did not record live. So, in order to make this video even longer than it already is, I record basically my normal style video like I did for Season 2 for week 4. So, we're going to cut to that footage. And at the end of that match, that's going to be the end of the video. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this catch-up. What do you like about my team? What do you not like about my team? Do you think I should have did him like that? It's up to you. Like, comment, and subscribe. Watch the rest of the video. Bye-bye. Okay, hi. It's your boy Cobb, aka Double Flamingo, aka The Goat, aka, if I did this right, this should be a little add-on to my video explaining the first 3 weeks. So rewind if you want to see that, but you probably already watched that. If not, there's a link to it here. However, this is my week 4 match, which is going to be happening in 18 minutes versus Blue, the coach of the Sleepy Shuckles. Blue's currently undefeated. I am not. I am 2-1, but you guys know that already. And the matchup looks pretty good for me, but I'll show you guys my team so you can see why the matchup looks pretty good for me. So we're going to start with my Patagonia Penguin, my Almamola. So for people who skip to this part of the video or just don't know about my team, it's a lot tankier. I have triple regenerator mons and really fat stuff. I drafted Stall initially at the draft and decided to change my mind about that just so that no one else would get Stall without burning free agencies. But anyways, Almamola takes Gouging Fire. It tanks all of his physical attackers. It tanks Tauros, unless the Tauros is like bulk up with a decent amount of bulk investment, so it loses my flip turn. Almamola is just a really good tool versus most of his team. Toxic stops, setup sweepers that don't have substitute. Knockoff just gets rid of items like leftovers, catches switches, and flip turn generates momentum, especially with Wish to wish past the rest of my team. My secondary physically defensive mon to stop physical sweepers is my Diancie. I'm running Max Fizdef on Diancie this week. I have Tear Fairy, which I shouldn't be tearing into because of this guy over here, but in case I need to, I have Iron Defense Body Press to 1v1 any sort of setup sweeper, provided that I don't get crit. Unless it's like Terra Ghost Primeape, which I guess maybe that walls me, but whatever. Draining Kiss is my stab that's gonna heal me up, provided, like, if my leftovers get knocked off, then I still have Draining Kiss to heal me up. And rocks are good into most of his team. I can rocks in the face of everything except for Mega Sableye, which is his only solid hazard control. But Sableye is not going to be wanting to stay in on the Diancie because I'm a fairy type, and for the past few weeks, I have been sweeping with Diancie. This Diancie is currently the kill leader, sitting at a solid 10 kills, so shout out Diancie. That's my goat. Anyways, next up, Versace Riddler, my Galarian Slowking, running Colberberry with Fizdef. I'm modest instead of bold, so I can get a little bit more damage on my Sludge Bombs and my Psychic Noises. But Colbur Berry Fizz Def is so I'm not completely dead weight into a Meowscarada. I'm pretty sure I always live a Choice Banded knockoff from Meowscarada, and I'm fine to like eat a knockoff from a Sableye without worrying that much because of my Colbur Berry and my good bulk. Chilly Reception sets up Gucci Mr. Freeze to do decent work, and Toxic Spikes are good into most of his team. It stops his setup sweepers from getting out of control when every time they switch in, they get put on a timer and they get their leftovers negated, which is awesome. Always love that. Yeah, so that's Versace Riddler. Next up, we got Nautica Nightwing. It is a pretty standard scissor set that coincidentally helps 1v1 his scarier threats like Espathra, and it's always a safe switch in on Meowscarada because even if he tries to trick me, he can't get rid of my Scissorite because that's how Mega Evolved Pokemon work. Pretty standard set. Bullet Punch, U-Turn, Roost Pursuit. Pursuit can trap stuff like Jirachi. It can also trap stuff like Slowking if he decides to bring it. And it can prevent Espathra from ever coming in later in the game and trying to sweep if he realizes that he cannot win the 1v1. So yeah, that's Mega Scizor. Next up, Cyclizar, Regenerator Mod number 3. I'm running Choice Scarf so that I'm faster than +1 Gouging Fire, +2 Adamant Gouging Fire, and Choice Scarf Adamant Meowscarada, which is important. Draco Meteor is a good button to click versus most of his stuff. I have U-Turn, Thunderbolt, and Knockoff on the rest of my moves. U-Turn and Knockoff are just like general, like, I can click these moves and it's fine because I'm a Cyclizar and I just get to pivot. They're actually going to do decent damage and stuff because of my attack investment. My Dracos are going to do a lot because of my max special attack. But Thunderbolt is just a button that I can click versus his bulky waters and stuff like his Tauros if I don't want to drop my stats. So yeah, that's Cyclizar. And last up, Gucci Mr. Freeze. Gucci Mr. Freeze is the protagonist for this week. He gets to click Terra Electric Bolt Beak, and there are no ground types, so sucks to be the other guy. You don't have a ground type, I just get to click Bolt Beak. I wish I would have to think about this matchup, but I don't, because I just get to click Bolt Beak every time I come in. It kind of forces him to have Scarfers or priority or whatever, but I can play into that. I'm faster than Jolly Meowscarada in Snow. I get to 380 speed, and the rest of these moves are just sort of like here. Like, I'm clicking Bolt Beak every time. There's no other move in his kit that's like at all serviceable. I'd have Substitute if I wasn't Choice Band, but like I just click Bolt Beak. Like, I just who up Beacon they bolt, you know? But yeah, that's the move, that's the team. My game is gonna start in 13 minutes. So yeah, see you guys then. Okay, so I see none of the fire types, and yeah, interesting. Okay, so out of these, he probably leads either Sableye, Jirachi, or Meowscarada. So I think I just lead Scizor. Like, there's nothing really putting me off from leading Scizor. I think Scizor kind of goes crazy this game. Versus Dondozo, I can just sort of Bolt Beak, which is going to be great if it ever comes down on anything that I do. So yeah, shout out. I think I'm just going to lead Scizor. I think I'm covered in all possibilities. Alright, here comes the game. I Mega Evolve and U-Turn. It's a pretty fine play. Worst case, I take Rocky Chip from Dozo. He U-turns too. Okay. That's definitely banded. MF Doom nickname's funny. I just get to go this, and I get to click Bolt Beak. And he has to find a switch in. I'm going to Terra Electric in case he's got like a berry or something. Because I think I just kill. Like super kill. That took a lot. Okay, so it's banded Meowscarada. What's he going to go? Sableye? Yeah. Okay. I go into Aloe or Diancie? I think I go Diancie. Yeah. No, I go Aloe. Okay. And then I flip turn. He Mega Evolves. Okay. He's gonna knock. I go this on the knock. Yep. Okay, cool. And then I chili, hope that I'm slower. If I am slower, then I just go into Arctozolt. I Bolt Beak again. If he made the spin speed like he should have, then I'm not going to be slower. If he didn't, okay, perfect. Awesome. And I just click Bolt Beak, and he dies. Even if he's max Fizz Def. Yeah. Meowscarada is banned. Okay, he's going to protect. I go into this. I roost, and then I start pursuing. Perfect. Going exactly the game plan. Oh, tough. I think I want to bring out... I want to see what set this is. If he's Fire Punch, then I'm chilling. Because he would have to be banded in order to kill me. Yeah. Oh, he's banded. Ooh, that's tough. Okay. Threw in my Scizor. What can I do to exploit the fact that he's banded? I think I just win with this. Yeah, I just win with this. Okay, even if this is max Fizzdef Berry, then I'm fine. But I think to confirm the fact that I'm fine, I want to U-turn with Cyclizar. In case he Sash. Okay. Nice damage. He can't heal. Sound move. I switch into Aloe. If he Moonblasts, I don't die. So I'm assuming that's max special attack. Assume that is modest. Do I die to Moonblast? It's a roll. That's in his favor. I'm fine to sack Aloe. Because I don't die to a Surf. It's bad for differential, but I can sack this. Energy Ball. Okay, fine. This is fine. Cool. And now I just went with this. Alright. GG. GG, he didn't bring enough Arctozolt prep. I think those sacks were necessary to confirm that I always win the game. I could have tried to save differential somewhere, but I didn't need to. Which is good. Okay, I'm going to confirm that that was banded. So my Scizor, Mega Scizor took... Oh yeah, that's 100% banded. Yeah. Alright. Quick little 4-0 victory for me. Arctozolt is just kind of broken here. Breaks his win streak. Unfortunate for him. That's the game. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.